Eric Richter here, Against the Cage podcast. Welcome you in. We're here with Michael Venom Page. Thanks for coming in.
No worries, no worries.
So you came off a win here. You're also recently engaged. Give me the last couple weeks for you here.
Yeah, let's say the last couple of months has just been a bit hectic, but not in it didn't feel hectic. It's weird, hectic in as much as the schedule's being crazy. Got obviously announced a fight, got engaged. 24 hours later, we got married.
Wow.
And it's a Islamic wedding. So next year we kind of do a more civil wedding next year. But yeah, we are married. And then the following week after that, I had the fight. So yeah, it's been an exciting 2025.
Yeah, I would say so. Early on here, you fight an undefeated fighter. I don't want to say that nobody thought you were going to win, but everybody thought that Shara Bullet was the next big thing at 185. You go up in weight, and then you kind of just frustrated him into oblivion there in the octagon. What about you is so frustrating? Because we've seen it already. We've seen it in your Bellator days, and we've seen it in the UFC. People get very frustrated when they fight you. Um, Even in your loss to Ian Gary, you could tell he was frustrated. So what makes you so frustrating?
It's a unique style, as in the style itself comes from freestyle kickboxing, but there's not many people from that world that has entered into MMA full stop, let alone the UFC. You know, you see the likes of Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, and you see how effective he's been in his career with that, very same style. But there's only me and him that you could really kind of used as an example of that sport. So people are frustrated because it's just very unusual. It's a very unusual in terms of how well we are good at gauging distance, timing, how quickly we kind of cover ground, shoot in and out, land shots, hard to hit. There's everything about the style is frustrating.
So far, we haven't seen anyone be able to strike with you at all. Ian Gary had to grapple. He's usually known as a striker, but he actually showed off some good grappling in your guys' fight. So who, from a striking perspective, would you put anybody on your level? I mean, honestly, you remind me of an Israel Adesanya just at 170.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, me and Israel got different styles as well, but yeah, like I don't see anybody on my level striking wise. Like it's not. I feel, which is why I intend on just remaining on my feet for the majority of my fights. I'm capable of going elsewhere. I just feel so confident and so untouchable in my striking that that's where you're going to see me in a fight. And I think that's obviously where I can provide the most entertainment as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely feel like very difficult to match up against when it comes to striking. The danger thing about striking is, you know, anything can happen at any stage. You can get caught out. We've seen it happen to Adesanya recently, but I would never say that Imavov was a better striker than him. But at the same time, it's just that striking is one of those things that if you just catch it right in that moment, anything can happen. But I feel like confident against most people, when it comes to being in the cage.
So you're now ranked number 15 in the welterweight division. You just fought at 185. We've talked about
hmm
going up to 205. What is interesting to you right now?
For me, I just the eagerness is just to kind of get back in the cage. More than anything, it's just I want to get back in the cage. So if I get a short notice fight, it means I may do it again at middleweight, simply just to kind of cover that time, without putting too much stress on myself. But the goal is to get back down to welterweight and fight there, and go for the title.
Mhm. Have you talked to the UFC at all about weight classes and where you would go? Because at 170, there's a lot of interesting fights for you. I mean, Steve Wonderboy Thompson's ranked 11. Colby Covington is ranked 9. I think that could be an interesting build-up for sure.
hmm
What at 170, like what would be your ideal opponent at 170 for your next fight?
Well, like you said, it's just looking at someone in the top 10. So Colby would be a great fight. Like you said, I think the build-up would be great, but I'd definitely love to punch him in the face. So I think that'll be great. And he's like I said, he's anybody top 10. That just gives me the next step forward. So yeah, that would be a great fight.
Do you have a roadmap for the title in mind? How many fights would you say you would need to wait for in order to jump in for a title fight?
It's so difficult to know because you could be ranked 15th, and if the guys at the top in UFC game want you to fight a big fight, they'll make it happen. It's not the rankings don't necessarily. This is why I don't really like to pay too much attention to it. The rankings don't make that difference. If the exciting fights makes the difference, your personalities make the difference. Um, and if they want me to fight whoever, I could have one fight and then a title. I could have two fights and a title. I could have three fights. It's down to the guys at the top. My job is to just make sure I keep having exciting fights, keep getting the results, and then hopefully I get there as soon as possible.
Did you watch yesterday's fight with Jared Cannonier and Gregory Rodriguez?
I
Crazy
actually,
fight.
I actually haven't. I haven't. So I'll definitely have a look at that one. But I haven't.
It was really interesting. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on at middleweight right now. Like obviously, like Dricus just beat Sean Strickland again.
Hmm.
I think Sean Strickland could be an interesting matchup for you.
Hmm.
How would you see that matchup playing out between you and Sean? Two really dedicated strikers, lifetime of striking under their belt.
Yeah, I think that a similar thing will happen. Like, but he loves striking. He'd love it. He'd enjoy it. I think he wouldn't get frustrated. He'd get excited. I think that'll do the difference. And
Mm.
and like you say, it'll just make for a good fight because he'll come forward. He'll try and he won't stop trying to figure it out. Whereas a lot of people they kind of just get annoyed. And like I said, their emotions take over in the wrong way. I think that would excite him. I've actually seen him train with a friend of mine who comes from the same kind of place as me in freestyle kickboxing, Raymond Daniels. And you can see that there's just a small clip that they put out. He's getting not frustrated, but was making mistakes, getting caught with certain things, but enjoying that. And I think that would make for a good fight because he'd keep it coming.
Yeah, like I feel like one fight that I always romanticize in my head, and it might not have been like the most exciting fight in the moment, but when Izzy fought Anderson Silva, when Anderson
Mhm.
Silva was still going in the UFC, that was just such a fun fight because they just really enjoyed it. You could see that they
Yeah.
were like looking at each other and they were like, "Man, this is unbelievable! Like the amount of skills that we have." So I want that for you next.
Mhm.
I want that. I want something big like that for you. I feel like Strickland at 185 could be interesting.
Mhm.
And then I mean at 170, I think Wonder Boy would all. I mean that's an amazing fight. You against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. So yeah, I like. But then there's grapplers, right? Like that's also like part of it. And there's like Hamzat Chimaev is standing at 185, and Kamaru Usman's at 170. So how would you like deal with like a serious like lifetime grappler like that?
Yeah, you have to do is that like to be fair, if I didn't want to have to deal with them, I'd go to kickboxing. I know I have to deal with them regardless. Yes, there's some great striking fights to have, but I understand it's MMA. I have to figure it out. We have to game plan specifically for those type of guys. I still think Usman would be a great fight because as much as he's an exceptional grappler, he does like to strike as well. But yeah, you just have to. For me, it's just a case of game plan. There are specific things that I'll do for one person that I wouldn't do for another person, and vice versa. So it's just game plan.
Hmm. Yeah, and then so like when you're diving into like your training camps and stuff like that, what kind of like workouts would you do specific? Like obviously there's opponent specific stuff, but like in terms of like the amount of cardio that you try to put into each fight, to like make sure you're in the right conditioning, is it just a well-oiled machine at this point? Like how do you stay in the conditioning? Like it honestly against Charbel, it looked like you could fight for 10 rounds if you needed to. Like how do you get to that level of conditioning as an athlete like yourself?
Sorry, it's a lot of conditioning. You have to put into that engine first in order to be able to get back out of it. So it's as you say, you felt like I could go a long time. I felt like I could go a long time.
Really?
But if I was to show you the camp, it's because I'm dead most of the time because my coach is forcing me back in, forcing me to do that machine, forcing me to do that extra run. forcing me to do that one more every time. I think that's his favorite line. One more time, one more time. But it's being able to keep up with that in the camp that allows me to be able to have those results on the other side.
Talks about taking a short notice fight potentially, like you'd be willing to jump in on short notice and fight somebody in a pull out scenario. Have you done that before? And what does that feel like for you as a fighter?
Yeah, I haven't done that. It's not something that I would care to do if I had to. If it's a big fight, and I know it would be, it's a and sometimes it's good to be opportunistic. But obviously preparation is key. So the reason I haven't been in that scenario is because I like to put myself and be the main guy in the fight and prepare for my opponent. But the thing is, things that could happen. It's happened to me in the opposite way. I was the guy. I'm fighting a specific opponent, and a month before, 3 weeks before, 2 weeks before, that opponent's pulled out. So although maybe fitness wise you may be better than them, but the game plan has to change. I can't go in there with the same game plan. So it's very similar. I feel like the only advantage there is that you were very prepared physically for the fight. That gives you that slight bit of advantage. But again, learning how to have different looks and different game plans for different opponents is important as well.
Mm. Yeah, no, totally. Because what's funny is that sometimes those short notice fights and those short notice replacements are what builds bigger fights, oddly enough, right? Like when Conor McGregor was fighting Aldo and then Aldo pulled out and then Chad Mendes stepped in. It's like, oh my God, Chad Mendes is stepping in. And then there was also when Usman, I forget who was fighting, but someone pulled out when he was going to fight Usman, and then Jorge Masvidal stepped in. It was like, oh my God, Jorge Masvidal. And all of those fights had some of the biggest draws that we've ever had. So yeah, I think that for from a fighter, like from your perspective, I wouldn't be surprised if if Bilal Muhammad was fighting Shavkat and Shavkat pulls out. I wouldn't be surprised if you got a call. Like I could totally see that.
And that's yeah, as you say, if it's an opportunity of that magnitude for that fight, 100%, I'd step in and do what you can to make it. So, and like you say, I think those things are obviously great and exciting, but it's great and exciting for the UFC. It's great and exciting for the promotion, not necessarily the fighter.
Mm.
And fighters will still do it because, like I said, the opportunity that's there to kind of almost springboard yourself to the front of the line. So that's why the fighters will take it. But like I said, it's definitely more for the promotion, the fans, obviously, than it is for the actual fighter. So again, like I said, I like to be prepared. But if there's an opportunity like that, yeah, you'll definitely see me in there trying to spin kick someone's head off.
100%. I wanted to play a little game of word association. We've done this in the past, but I want to play it with some new people if you're down.
Huh?
All right, so we'll start up first. First name on the list, Vicente Luque. Word association.
Hmm. More info, because it's weird because I've seen his fights, watched him, even like thought about fighting him, but never really looked into him too much. Never really watched loads of his fights. So yeah, like I say, he's not a big character. Like he's a great fighter, not a big character. Like I feel like he needs a bit more charisma.
Hmm. Okay. How about Stephen Wonderboy Thompson?
Super nice guy. I would call him gentleman.
I've interviewed him before. He is awesome.
Yeah, lovely guy. Love him to bits.
Now that you fought him, Ian Gary.
Mm, fire. So like just like fiery.
Hmm.
He's got that kind of fiery attitude, kind of fiery confidence. I think that fiery just says a lot about explains his personality. And even when he comes, he's very confident in himself. That you need that kind of fire to be confident in yourself.
Hmm. Uh, Joaquin Buckley.
Talented.
Hmm. Jack Della Maddalena.
I would say scrambly because seriously, his scrambles, wrestling scrambles on the floor. I don't know, are just are amazing sometimes. I don't know how he just like non-stop moving. It's just yeah, super talented in that area. But I'll just say scrambly.
Shavkat Rakhmonov.
Um, I'll say like a boa constrictor. He just seems like he's strong and that if he gets a hold of you, he's gonna squeeze your head off.
That's a good one. Bilal Muhammad, last one.
Champion. Yeah, champion. And just an underestimated champion as well. I feel like for some reason he keeps getting better, keeps, doing better and still gets underestimated. So I'd
Mhm.
even say underestimated. Yeah. I think he's a great champion, great talent, great fighter, strong in many areas, getting so much better in his striking. Just underestimated.
One thing that I was talking about on the podcast with Scott Fontana in the previous episode. Um, it's kind of interesting the way that like a couple champions that we have, it seems like they've weaponized the ability to transition to striking to from striking to grappling with their cardio in a way that it almost seems overpowered. I just want to get your thoughts on this. Like Bilal Muhammad is able to transition from striking and forward pressure into takedowns and then back in a way that it almost seems like unbeatable because it's like you are always on defense no matter what you're doing. I just want to get your comment on like what do you think about like him and Merab Dvalishvili are amazing at this. They're really good at takedowns and striking. So, well, I mean, what do you think about like that kind of style as a fighter?
Yeah, it's a headache style to deal with for different reasons. Like you say, it's a very drowning style. It's a very fatiguing style because when you're defending their attempts at takedown and then they get back up and continue striking going forward, they're tough enough to take some strikes as well and then keep pressing forward. So you're going from having that lactic defensive work on the muscles to having to now snap your muscles forward to try and continue firing on them because they're pressing forward. Like you say, this one thing that we say in our gym is fitness is king. You don't have to necessarily be the better athlete when you've got like tons of fitness. And it's interesting because for me, Mirab, as exceptional as he is anyway, I didn't think he was in terms of out of the two of them, I didn't think he was the more talented skill wise all round in that fight, but that fitness just overpowered everything. Your skill can be this level, but as you are progressing forward through each round, the skill level is going to keep getting worse and worse and worse and worse unless you have cardio to back it up. And Mirab is somebody that has shown he is skillful. Obviously, I'm not saying he's not skillful. I just think in that fight, I don't think he was the more skillful. But yeah, the cardio is king, man, and he's an absolute beast at that.
That's why we do Shark Tank drills, right?
Exactly.
Yep. Dricus Du Plessis is just as a middleweight champion now. He, really put it on Sean there in their last title fight. What do you think about him? I mean, he's the king of 185 right now.
Yeah, again, it's weird. It's interesting because I keep saying I feel like he's not he doesn't look the most skillful. He's quite messy in his style, but just always seems to find a way to win. Seems very very strong, very durable, got great fitness. Another person that is able to kind of work up and down with regards to um like throwing strikes to go into his takedown and then coming back. So as you say, that seems to be the formula at the moment, being able to work up and down and have the fitness to do so.
Mhm.
um, Regardless of anything, he is the champion. Regardless of what you think about him, he's a champion. And respect to him, he's done it in his own way. It might not be the sexiest to look at, but he's made it work. So no, congrats to him.
Would you have a prediction at all between Dricus and Kamzat?
Yeah, it's weird because I'd still probably give it to Hamzat. Again, I think it's so easy to keep voting on skill because I think he's definitely the more skillful out of the two. But again, this is where cardio is going to be king. I feel like if Hamzat can't beat him within the first 2, 3 rounds, there's going to be a problem to when it comes to the rest of the fight. We've seen him having those kind of struggles before in previous fights. Um, So, even against Usman, he had a similar kind of thing. He's able to kind of drown a person, and then once his energy drops, it's a bit more of a struggle, and then the other person can kind of come back. Um, so yeah, it's again exceptional fight, but skill wise, I think he has the skill to take. I actually think he's got skill to actually knock him out. I've seen him personally in the gym, trained alongside him. I had
Mm.
the privilege of training alongside him. He's got a massive punch. Drickers also takes shots sometimes, and I think that's dangerous when you've got someone that's got a big hit like that. Everyone will be expecting him to try and take Drickers down, which I'm sure he may, but he's also got a massive punch on him
Mm.
that I think Drickers is definitely liable to get hit with, which can just change everything and makes the rest 10 times easier. The takedown, the submission, that will probably come after that a lot easier.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that you trained with him. Anything interesting come out of that training session, in your opinion?
Yeah, just inspiration to see someone that is so talented and just an absolute beast. Like seriously, he really is a beast. I think if he one thing he's gonna want to work on is his fitness and how to manage his energy during a fight. But outside of that, seriously, just an absolute beast. And just a pleasure to be kind of share a gym and kind of be able to observe certain things that he's done. So yeah, amazing.
That's awesome. And then, so UFC just announced the Miami card. Can we see
April
on that?
12th. I
Can we
want.
get you
That's what I
there?
want. That's what I
Can we
want. I
get you
would love
there?
to get on. Again, I've been looking. And my family's in Miami. Obviously, I
Yeah,
fought my first fight was in Miami
I was
against
there.
Kevin. Oh yeah. Oh, amazing. So yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to kind of return and go back there, 100%. So that's the one I'm definitely gonna push for.
Mhm.
Whoever the opponent is, just give me someone. Just allow me to try and get another one in as soon as possible. So that'll be great. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, coming out of you come out of a camp and a fight. You fight in Saudi Arabia, and you come out of the camp and you come out of the fight with no injury. How rare is that? You're totally healthy.
For me, not that rare, fortunately,
Mm,
because again, my style allows for me to
right.
do that. In general, yeah, it's very difficult to do. I think it's something that I feel like people always miss with me in terms of I don't believe he's even we done 3 rounds together. I don't believe they registered one strike on my head at all. I don't believe they registered this, and this unheard of. That's people don't understand how difficult that is to do in an MMA cage against someone so talented in striking. Um, so it wasn't just that. It wasn't just the win, shall I say? It was being able to kind of do that and be fresh enough to go again straight afterwards. So yeah, no, people like I said, people just kind of miss that, but it is very rare.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. I hope to see you at the Miami card. Maybe I'll be there again.
Amazing.
Um, rooting you on a little bit, and yeah, hopefully, maybe Leon Edwards or someone will step up. Somebody's got to take a big fight, and
Well, that's the
you're
thing.
the
Leon,
box
obviously,
office.
Leon's fighting this no in the next weekend. So it's gonna and like I said, I reckon that's gonna be a very slow, methodical, drawn out fight. I don't think he's gonna be physically able to, but like I said, there's plenty of good fights, and I want. If I was to have a Leon fight, it'd have to be in the UK. That's the only time I'd fight him. I wouldn't want him anywhere else. So, yeah, but there are many fights out there. I'm sure we'll figure something out.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully, April's not too far away, 2, 3 months away. So
Mhm.
appreciate you very much as always, Michael. And
That's
yeah, we'll be seeing you very soon. Thank you for coming
yes, sir.
against the Cage podcast.
No
Appreciate you.
problem. Take care. Bye.